Win in public, build in private. By Audiobook Mana. Introduction. Your results are loudest when your work is silent. You don't need to announce your every move. You don't need validation to grow. You don't even need applause to keep going. Because real winners don't chase attention, they chase progress. They build when no one's watching. They grind when nobody cares. And when they finally rise, people call it luck. But it wasn't luck. It was the hours they spent in silence, building a version of themselves no one saw coming. This audiobook is not about fake hustle or empty motivation. It's about learning the discipline of privacy, how to protect your process, your peace, and your power, while you're becoming who you are meant to be. Some people swear by silence. Others thrive in the spotlight. But the truth is, neither is a golden rule. What truly matters is clarity, discipline, and personal alignment. You've probably heard it all before. Move in silence. Let your success make the noise. Keep your circle small. And while there's wisdom in that, there's also another truth. Some people build empires in public and win just as big. The internet is full of conflicting advice. One influencer tells you to document everything. Another tells you to disappear and come back victorious. One entrepreneur swears by building community early. Another credits their success to working in isolation for years. So who's right? Here's the truth. They both are. And they're both wrong. If you're trying to force their method onto your life. This book isn't here to tell you there's only one way to win. It's here to help you understand your way and give you the tools to protect it, execute it, and own it without apology. Because here's what really matters, not how loud or quiet you are, but how consistent, how focused, and how aligned you are with your vision. We live in an age of constant comparison. You see someone posting their wins on social media, and you wonder if you should be doing the same. You see someone else working in complete silence, and you question whether you're sharing too much. The pressure is real, the confusion is understandable. But here's what that pressure does. It makes you perform instead of progress. It makes you focus on optics instead of outcomes. It makes you second guess your instincts because you're too busy watching everyone else's game. Stop watching. Start building. Your path doesn't need to mirror anyone else's. Your process doesn't need validation from the crowd. Your timeline doesn't need to match the highlight reels you see online. What you need is clarity about who you are, what you're building, and why it matters to you. Let's start with the truth. If you keep broadcasting your goals, you'll keep inviting opinions you don't need. And opinions are distractions, energy leaks, momentum killers. So this is your reminder. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. You don't need to prove you're working. You just need to work. This book exists because too many people are paralyzed by the question, should I share my journey or keep it private? And the paralysis is costing them progress. Some people stay silent out of fear, not strategy. They hide not because they're focused, but because they're afraid of judgment. Others overshare out of insecurity, not authenticity. They post not to inspire, but to convince themselves they're making progress. Both are traps. This book will help you break free. It will show you how to build with intention, win with integrity, and own your journey without apology, whether you choose to do it quietly or publicly. Because at the end of the day, the method doesn't matter as much as the mindset. And the mindset that wins is the one that's clear, disciplined, and unshakable. Chapter 1. Everybody wants to be seen, but not everyone is ready to be real. You can post the progress, you can talk about your dreams, you can make noise about what's next, but silence, that's where the transformation happens. Silence forces you to face yourself. It strips away validation. It tests your intentions. When no one's clapping, will you still show up? When no one's asking, will you still stay disciplined? That's the question that separates the average from the exceptional. There's power in surprise. There's momentum in mystery. When you announce your plans too early, you invite pressure you're not ready for. You invite doubt from people who don't believe yet. You invite envy from those who wish they had your courage. And most dangerously, you invite your own ego to the table before the work is done. Because here's the thing, the world respects the results, not the rehearsal. They'll only see the finished product. They'll never understand the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the moments you almost gave up. And that's okay. You're not building for recognition. You're building for mastery. Think about it. How many times have you announced something you were excited about, only to feel the weight of expectations slow you down? How many times did someone's skeptical look make you second-guess your vision? How many times did you start something with fire, shared it too soon, and then felt embarrassed when it didn't work out immediately? Early noise kills execution. When you talk about what you're going to do, your brain experiences a false sense of accomplishment. It gets a dopamine hit from the idea, the reaction, the validation, and suddenly, the actual work feels less urgent. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon. They call it social reality. When you tell people your goals, your brain registers the acknowledgement as if you've already made progress. The satisfaction you feel from their reaction replaces the satisfaction you should only feel from the work itself. And here's the dangerous part. Once your brain feels satisfied, your motivation drops. The urgency fades. The drive softens. What felt like fire becomes barely a spark. So stop over-explaining your plans. Stop announcing what you're about to do. Start doing it. Let your consistency talk louder than your captions. Let your actions be the evidence. Private progress is powerful because it's protected. No one can sabotage what they don't know about. No one can doubt what they can't see. And no one can copy what's not public. So move quietly, work deeply, and when the time comes, when you win, let your success speak for itself. Silence isn't about being secretive. It's about being strategic. It's about understanding that not everyone deserves front row access to your journey. Some people ask how you're doing, just to measure where they stand. Some want to know your next move so they can beat you to it. Others are just waiting to say I told you so if you fail. Think about the people in your life. Not all of them want to see you win. Not all of them can handle your success. Not all of them have pure intentions when they ask about your plans. That's not cynicism. That's awareness. And awareness is power. When you protect your process, you protect your peace. You eliminate distractions before they become obstacles. You guard your energy so it goes into the work, not into defending the work. Protect your focus while working behind the scenes. Guard your energy like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. The art of strategic silence. Strategic silence doesn't mean you never speak. It means you speak with intention. It means you know the difference between sharing a milestone and exposing a method. It means you understand that some conversations drain you while others fuel you. Strategic silence is knowing when to decline the question, so, what are you working on? It's smiling and saying, I'll show you when it's ready, instead of spilling every detail to someone who asked out of politeness, not genuine interest. It's understanding that every word you speak about your work should either move you forward or connect you with the right people. If it does neither, save your breath, because silence isn't just about keeping quiet. It's about keeping focused. It's about keeping your power where it belongs, in your hands, not scattered across conversations that don't serve you. Here's what silence does that visibility can't. It builds character in the dark. When no one's watching, you find out who you really are. You find out if you're disciplined or just motivated. You find out if you're committed or just curious. If you're only working hard when people are watching, you're not building a foundation. You're building a performance, and performances end. But character lasts. Character is what carries you through the moments when no one cares, no one's cheering, and no one believes in what you're doing. That's where legends are made. In the silence, in the solitude, in the seasons where the only voice you hear is your own, telling you to keep going. Chapter 2. Energy leaks. How oversharing kills momentum. Growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens behind the curtain, where no one's watching. Because the truth is, most people talk too much and do too little. They post their plans before they even start them. They share their dreams before they've built the foundation. Then they wonder why their momentum fades. Here's what's really happening. Every time you talk about what you're doing, you release energy that should have gone into doing it. Talking feels like progress, but it's not. It's a release valve. And sometimes, that release is exactly what kills your drive. Imagine you're building a fire. Every time you talk about your plans, you're opening the door and letting cold air rush in. A little bit, the fire survives, but do it constantly, and the fire dies. Your momentum works the same way. Every announcement, every explanation, every time you reveal your plans to someone who doesn't need to know, you're letting energy escape. There's actual science behind this. When you announce a goal, your brain receives social acknowledgement. That acknowledgement triggers a premature sense of completeness. You feel rewarded before you've done the work, and suddenly, the motivation to actually execute diminishes. It's called social reality. When you tell people your plans, your mind starts to believe you've already taken a step forward. But you haven't. You've just created the illusion of progress. And illusions don't build empires. Work does. The science of excitement versus actual progress. Let's dig deeper into this. Studies have shown that when you share your goals publicly, you get a hit of dopamine. Your brain lights up, you feel good, people respond positively, and you feel accomplished. But here's the problem. That feeling of accomplishment isn't tied to actual accomplishment. It's tied to the social response. So your brain thinks, great, I did something. When in reality, all you did was talk about doing something. And that false sense of progress, it weakens the urgency to do the real work. Think about New Year's resolutions. How many people announce on January 1st that this is their year? They're going to lose weight, get fit, start a business, and by February, they've already quit. It's not because they lacked the ability. It's because they released the energy too soon. They celebrated the intention instead of the execution. They talked when they should have been building. Too much validation too soon can weaken the drive. When everyone already thinks you're doing great just because you posted about your plans, where's the internal fire to actually prove it? The hunger fades. The edge dulls. The discipline becomes optional. But when you're building in private, the only validation you get is from yourself. And that's the validation that matters most. That's the validation that fuels real transformation. You know when you've put in the work. You know when you've honored your commitments. You know when you've pushed past comfort and into growth. That internal knowing is powerful. It's pure. It's untainted by external noise. And it's the foundation of uncheckable confidence. The real building blocks. Progress is built in repetition. Progress is built in solitude. Progress is built when you say, I don't need them to see it yet. You're not hiding. You're building. You're not being secretive. You're being strategic, because quiet seasons create loud victories. When you master the private work, public success becomes natural. You won't have to announce it. People will just see it and feel it. Think about athletes who train in the off-season. They're not posting every workout. They're not documenting every meal. They're grinding in silence, perfecting their craft, so that when the season starts, their performance speaks for itself. Think about artists who spend months or years on a project before revealing it. They're not updating the world on every brushstroke. They're creating in solitude, refining their vision, so that when they unveil the work, it's undeniable. That's the power of building in private. The work compounds without distraction. The focus deepens without interference. The vision crystallizes without outside influence. And when it's time to reveal what you've built, the impact is exponential. Choosing what to share and when. This doesn't mean you can never share anything. It means you need to be intentional about what you release and when. Share milestones, not strategies. Share results, not blueprints. Share gratitude, not desperation for approval. Timing matters, so does intention. Ask yourself, am I sharing this to inspire, or am I sharing this to impress? Am I documenting journey, or am I performing for an audience? The answer will tell you everything you need to know. If you're sharing to inspire, great. If you're sharing to add value, perfect. If you're sharing because you've accomplished something real and you want to celebrate it, go ahead. But if you're sharing because you need validation, because you're seeking approval, because you want people to think you're further along than you are, stop. That's an energy leak, and you can't afford it. Chapter 3. Protect your process. Not everyone deserves access to your progress. Some people want updates, not to support you, but to measure you. Some want to know how far you've come, just so they can remind you how far you still have to go. That's why boundaries are power. Building emotional armor. You can't grow freely in an environment that questions your every move. You don't need to cut everyone off, but you do need to quiet the noise. Every word you say about your next move invites energy toward it. And not all energy is pure. Sometimes silence is your shield. Not every comment deserves a reaction. Not every opinion deserves weight. Not every critic deserves your attention. When your goals are visible, you will face doubt. You will face jealousy. You will face people who project their limitations onto your potential. This is where emotional armor becomes essential. Emotional armor isn't about being cold or closed off. It's about being discerning. It's about knowing who gets access to your inner world and who does not. It's about understanding that your vision is sacred, and not everyone has earned the right to speak into it. Some people will doubt you because they've never seen it done. Some will criticize you because they're too afraid to try. Some will question you because your success threatens their excuses. None of that is your problem. Your problem, your only problem, is staying true to your vision and executing with excellence. Learn to filter, learn to discern, learn to protect your mental space like a fortress. Because the moment you let someone else's fear become your hesitation, you've given away your power. Handling criticism and negativity. Criticism will come. It's inevitable. But here's the secret. Most criticism says more about the critic than it does about you. People who are building don't have time to tear others down. People who are winning don't feel threatened by someone else's rise. So when negativity comes your way, ask yourself, is this feedback I can use, or is this noise I need to ignore? If it's constructive, take it. If it's jealousy disguised as concern, dismiss it. Your job isn't to convince anyone. Your job is to stay focused. Here's a framework for handling criticism. 1. Consider the source. Is this person where you want to be? Have they accomplished what you're trying to accomplish? If not, their opinion might not be relevant. 2. Look for truth. Even in harsh criticism, there might be a kernel of truth. Extract it, apply it, and move on. 3. Ignore the rest. Everything else is noise. Let it go. 4. Don't defend. The more you defend, the more you drain your energy. Your results will be your defense. 5. Stay focused on your mission. Criticism can't stop you unless you let it. Keep moving. Protecting your vision from negativity. When your goals are visible, you open yourself up to opinions. And opinions, especially from people who don't understand your vision, can be toxic. They'll tell you it's too risky. They'll tell you it won't work. They'll remind you of everyone who tried and failed. But here's what they won't tell you. They're speaking from their own fear, not your reality. Your vision is yours. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. It doesn't need approval from the crowd. It just needs your commitment. So protect it, guard it. Nurture it in private until it's strong enough to withstand public scrutiny. You're not doing this to impress people. You're doing this to improve yourself. And that requires focus, uninterrupted focus. So delete the need to prove. Delete the need to announce. You don't owe the world your blueprint, just your best work. Stop defending your decisions to people who wouldn't support them anyway. Stop explaining your vision to people who lack the imagination to see it. Your process is sacred. Treat it that way. Every time someone asks, "What are you working on?" you don't owe them a detailed answer. Sometimes, "I'll show you soon" is enough. Every time someone questions your choices, you don't need to justify yourself. Sometimes, silence is the most powerful response, because the people who matter will support you regardless. And the people who don't matter, their opinions don't deserve space in your head. Chapter 4. Winning loudly. Now, let's flip the script. Because here's the thing, not everyone thrives in silence, and that's okay. Some people are fueled by community, some are strengthened by accountability. Some build best when they document the journey out loud. And there's power in that too. There's a difference between oversharing for a validation and sharing for a connection. When you share your journey publicly with intention, you can attract the right people. You can build a community. You can inspire others who are on a similar path. Public building works when it's rooted in authenticity, not performance. Think about the creators, entrepreneurs, and leaders who've documented their rise. They didn't announce empty plans. They shared real struggles, real lessons, and real growth. They built in public, but they did it with purpose. They shared their failures alongside their wins. They showed the messy middle, not just the highlight reel. They invited people into their process not for validation, but for connection. And in doing so, they built tribes of supporters who rooted for them, learned from them, and grew alongside them. The power of accountability. One of the biggest benefits of building publicly is accountability. When you share your goals and progress, you create external pressure to follow through. You're no longer just accountable to yourself, you're accountable to everyone who's watching. For some people, that pressure is motivating. It lights a fire. It keeps them showing up even on the hard days. If you're someone who thrives on external accountability, building in public might be your path. Just make sure you're sharing progress, not just promises. Make sure you're documenting action, not just announcing intentions. Because accountability only works if you're actually doing the work. Look at people who live streamed their coding sessions and built million-dollar apps. They didn't hide their process. They shared it in real time, learned in public, and attracted opportunities because of their transparency. Look at writers who shared their daily word counts and landed book deals. They documented the grind, the rejections, the revisions, and in doing so, they built an audience before they even had a finished product. Look at athletes who posted their training routines and attracted sponsorships. They showed the 5 a.m. workouts, the discipline, the sacrifice, and brands wanted to be associated with that dedication. Look at entrepreneurs who shared their revenue numbers, their failures, their pivots. They built trust with their audience by being real, and that trust turned into customers, investors, and advocates. These people didn't win because they were loud. They won because they were consistent, authentic, and strategic about what they shared. They understood the difference between performing and documenting. They understood the difference between seeking validation and building community, and that made all the difference. How to build publicly without losing yourself. If you're going to build publicly, here are the rules. Share action, not announcements. Show what you've done, not just what you're planning to do. Results speak louder than intentions. Focus on value, not vanity. Post because you have something useful to offer, not because you need likes. Ask yourself, does this help someone? Does this teach something? Does this inspire action? Stay consistent, not performative. Let your content reflect your actual work, not a highlight reel designed to impress. Authenticity resonates more than perfection. Handle criticism with grace. Not everyone will understand your path. That's their problem, not yours. Respond to constructive feedback. Ignore the noise. Never let hate slow you down. Protect your core vision. Share the journey, but keep your deepest strategies and most vulnerable moments private. You can be open without being exposed. Set boundaries. Just because you're building publicly doesn't mean you owe everyone everything. You still get to decide what stays private. Public building can work, but only if you stay disciplined, intentional, and aligned with your why. The moment you start performing for the algorithm instead of serving your mission, you've lost the plot. Stay rooted, stay real, and let your public presence be an extension of your private excellence. Chapter 5. Whether you build in silence or in public, there's one non-negotiable truth. Discipline is the only real flex. Motivation fades, inspiration comes and goes. Feelings are unreliable, but discipline is the foundation of everything. You can have the best plan in the world. You can have the most inspiring vision. You can have all the talent, all the resources, all the support. But if you don't execute, none of it matters. Execution is the great equalizer. It's what separates dreamers from doers. It's what turns potential into power. And execution requires discipline. Not the kind of discipline that's loud or showy. Not the kind that needs applause. But the quiet, relentless, unglamorous discipline that shows up every single day. Even when it's hard. Even when it's boring. Even when no one's watching. Discipline is doing the work when you don't feel like it. Discipline is honoring your commitments to yourself when it would be easier to quit. Discipline is choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. And discipline is what builds empires. Because here's the truth, motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It depends on circumstances, moods, and external factors, while discipline is a decision, and decisions create destinies. Systems versus feelings. Here's the truth about feelings, they lie. Some days you'll feel motivated, some days you won't. Some days you'll feel unstoppable, some days you'll want to quit. Your feelings don't determine your success, your systems do. Build systems that work even when you don't feel like it. Build routines that carry you through the low moments. Build habits that make showing up automatic. Because showing up matters more than showing off. The people who win aren't the ones who feel inspired every day. They're the ones who built a structure strong enough to hold them up when inspiration runs dry. Think about professional athletes. They don't train only when they feel like it. They train because it's part of their system. Rain or shine, tired or energized, motivated or not. Think about successful writers. They don't write only when inspiration strikes. They write every day because that's their system. Some days the words flow. Some days they struggle. But they show up regardless. That's the power of systems. They remove emotion from the equation. They make excellence a habit, not a feeling. So how do you build systems that actually work? Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Pick one habit and master it. Then add another. Make it automatic. Remove decision fatigue. Same time, same place, same routine. Let your brain know. This is what we do now. Track your progress. What gets measured gets managed. Keep a log. Celebrate small wins. Let the data motivate you. Plan for obstacles. Life will throw curveballs. Have a backup plan. If you can't do the full workout, do 10 minutes. If you can't write for an hour, write for 10. Something is always better than nothing. Protect your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior. Remove distractions. Add cues. Make the right choice the easy choice. Commit to consistency over intensity. It's better to do a little every day than to go hard for a week and burn out. Consistency compounds. Intensity fades. Here's what separates the unstoppable from the average. They prioritize progress over perfection. Done is better than perfect. Shipped is better than polished indefinitely. Action beats analysis every time. They commit to consistency over intensity. Small daily actions compound into massive results. 1% better every day adds up to 37 times better in a year. They remove decision fatigue. They automate, systematize, and simplify, so discipline becomes easier. They don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They protect their energy. They know what drains them and what fuels them, and they guard their time accordingly. They say no to distractions. They say yes to focus. They measure what matters. They track their progress, not their performance for others. They compete with who they were yesterday, not with who someone else is today. Discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about being committed to yourself. It's about honoring the promise you made when no one else believed in you. It's about showing up for your future self, even when your present self wants to quit. Chapter 6. The Balance. When to speak. When to move in silence. So, how do you know when to speak and when to stay silent? Here's the answer. It depends on the season you're in. Not everything needs to be shared. Not everything needs to be hidden. There are seasons for building quietly. There are seasons for sharing your growth. There are seasons for celebration. And there are seasons for rest. Your job is to recognize which season you're in and move accordingly. When you're in a season of foundation building, stay quiet. Protect your focus. Let the work take root without distraction. This is the time to experiment, to fail, to figure things out without the pressure of an audience. This is the time to build your skills, refine your process, and develop confidence in private. When you're in a season of expansion, consider sharing. Invite collaboration. Build community. Let others join the journey. This is the time to document what you're learning, to teach as you grow, to attract the right people into your orbit. When you're in a season of harvest, celebrate publicly. Let your success inspire. Let your story encourage those who are still building in silence. This is the time to share the wins, to express gratitude, to show what's possible when you commit to excellence. And when you're in a season of rest and reflection, step back, recharge, evaluate, decide what's next without the noise. The sweet spot between silence and visibility looks different for everyone. For some, it's sharing once a month. For others, it's daily documentation. For some, it's never posting at all. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. What matters is that your sharing or silence serves your vision, not the other way around. You're not here to build an audience if that's not your goal. You're not here to stay hidden if visibility would serve your mission. You're here to build something meaningful. And the strategy you use to get there should align with who you are, not who the internet tells you to be. Find your balance, test it, adjust it, own it. Chapter 7. Your journey, your rules. Let's get one thing clear. You don't have to follow anyone else's formula. Not mine, not the gurus, not the influencers, not your friends, not society's. Your journey's yours. And you get to define what winning looks like. Breaking free from pressure. There's so much noise out there telling you how to build, when to share, how to succeed. Move in silence, build in public, post every day. Stay offline and focus. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a formula. And everyone thinks theirs is the right one. But here's the truth. The only formula that works is the one that's aligned with who you are. Maybe you're someone who thrives in solitude. Maybe you're someone who's energized by community. Maybe you're somewhere in between. All of it is valid. Stop trying to copy someone else's blueprint. Stop feeling guilty for not doing it the way they did. Their path was theirs, your path is yours. And trying to force yourself into someone else's strategy is a recipe for burnout, frustration, and failure. Defining what winning means to you. Winning isn't one size fits all. For some, winning is $1 million business. For others, it's freedom and peace. For some, It's impact and legacy. For others, it's mastery and craft. Define it for yourself. Write it down. Own it. Because if you let the world define success for you, you'll spend your life chasing a finish line that keeps moving. You'll build what they want, not what you want. You'll chase validation, not fulfillment. You'll hit goals that leave you empty. Don't let that happen. Take the time to ask yourself, what do I actually want? What would make me proud? What would make this journey worth it? Your answers are your compass. Follow them, trusting your own pace and style. You don't have to move fast to move forward. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. You don't have to explain yourself to prove you're serious. Trust your pace, trust your process, trust your instincts. The only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Someone else might build their empire in a year. You might take 5. That doesn't make your empire less valuable. Someone else might thrive by posting daily. You might thrive by disappearing 4 months. That doesn't make your method less effective. Comparison is a trap, and the moment you fall into it, you lose focus on what actually matters, your progress. So trust your pace, honor your style, and stop apologizing for not being someone else. At the end of the day, the most important voice is the one inside you. Not the critics, not the supporters, not the followers or the doubters. You. Build inner confidence by honoring your commitments to yourself. Build self-trust by doing what you said you'd do, even when no one's watching. Because the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation for everything else. If you can't trust yourself, why would anyone else? If you don't believe in your vision, why would anyone else? Inner confidence isn't arrogance, it's certainty. It's knowing that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out, you'll adapt, you'll keep going. That's the confidence that can't be shaken by criticism or setbacks. That's the confidence that wins. Conclusion. When you win in public, it's not the victory that shocks people. It's the silence that came before it. They'll say, "When did this happen?" They'll say, "You came out of nowhere." But you didn't. You've been here, working, building, refining, in private. That's what makes the win powerful. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't performed. It was earned. Silence and visibility are both tools, not identities. You don't have to be the person who builds in silence or the person who shares everything. You can use both. You can move fluidly between them. You can adapt as your journey evolves. The key is knowing why you're choosing each one and making sure it serves you, not the other way around. You're not bound to one approach forever. Life changes, goals shift. What worked in one season might not work in the next, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to evolve. Give yourself permission to try different approaches. Give yourself permission to figure out what feels right for you. Because at the end of the day, the method is just a vehicle. What matters is the destination, and whether you had the courage to pursue it on your own terms. No matter how you build, stand boldly in your truth. Own your choices, own your pace, own your style. Don't apologize for being quiet. Don't apologize for being loud. Just be unapologetically you. Because the world doesn't need another copy. It needs your original voice, your original vision, your original fire. Think about the people who've made the biggest impact in history. They didn't follow templates. They didn't copy formulas. They carved their own paths. Some were loud revolutionaries. Others were quiet innovators. Some built movements in the spotlight. Others changed the world from the shadows. But they all had one thing in common. They owned who they were. They didn't shrink to fit someone else's mold. They didn't apologize for their approach. They didn't second-guess their instincts. They stood in their truth. And the world had no choice but to respect it. That's the energy you need to embody. The power of authenticity. Authenticity is magnetic. When you stop trying to be what you think you should be and start being who you actually are, everything changes. The right people show up. The right opportunities appear. The right doors open. Because authenticity cuts through the noise. It resonates. It connects. People can feel when you're real. And they can feel when you're performing. So stop performing. Stop trying to fit the mold. Stop editing yourself to make others comfortable. Show up as you are. Build the way that feels right. Win on your own terms. That's where true power lives. So here's what I want you to remember. Your vision doesn't need permission. You don't need to build like everyone else to win. You don't need to follow trends to be successful. You don't need anyone's approval to start. You just need to start. You just need to stay consistent. You just need to trust yourself enough to keep going. Whether you build in silence or in public, whether you win loudly or quietly, the only thing that matters is that you built, that you didn't quit, that you didn't shrink, that you became who you were meant to be. The world is waiting for what you're building. But more importantly, your future self is counting on you to finish. So honor that. Honor yourself. Honor the vision that keeps you up at night and wakes you up in the morning. And build it your way.